all, I'm your host, Kelly Nagel. The Teen Think Tank Project's Winter Research Cohort was recently joined by an amazing panel of student athletes for a conversation on race, equality, and sports. Our all-star lineup included New Jersey Institute of Technology student athletes Andrew Elcock and Sydney Watson, and American Heritage High School student athletes Jordana Codio and Kadi Hessen. These amazing athletes share their personal experiences with racial injustice and their perspectives for being effective agents of change. The conversations were so honest and thought-provoking, I had to share them with our listeners. Enjoy.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. First, I'd like to welcome our guests. This is the Think Tank Project. We are a living, breathing, working think tank. We're a group of 9 high school National Honor Society and honor students who came together with the purpose of studying social protest and racial injustice in sports. We've been at this for approximately 10 weeks. We've taken a rather academic approach to the subject matter. We have worked with an author named Mike Freeman, who wrote a book called Football's Fearless Activists. It is essentially an inside look at the life and times of Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, and the players who set forth to protest injustices in America. But it also gives a historical context of the subject matter. And as a think tank, our goal is to create public policy. We're not studying this as a current events activity. We are looking at it from an academic standpoint. We are looking at the situation as it exists today, and we're looking to create public policy that helps move us in a direction, both individually and as a society. And as we worked through this program, we've had wonderful speakers grace us with their presence and insight and knowledge. Heavy hitters. We're talking about folks like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Essence Carson, Dr. Richard Lapchick, individuals who not only are associated with advocacy and activism, but have lived it. Whether in the 90s, in a time when such activism was not commonplace, individuals like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf stood up against the NBA to protest what he felt were injustices in America. Individuals like Essence Carson, who lived in the WNBA bubble and protested social injustices with her teammates and her community members. Dr. Richard Lapchick, who is not only an educator, but a historian and noted activist before individuals studied such subjects. And he is not only a close personal friend of individuals who were very active in the civil rights movements like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at the time Lou Alcindor, and most notably Muhammad Ali. Those are individuals that he called friends. And they gave us a tremendous amount of insight into what a role of an activist, an advocate, and an agent of change should be in society. And their messages are different, their experiences are different, their backgrounds are extremely different. But the one core message that they delivered was exactly the same. The terminology might have been slightly different, but the spirit and the message behind it was clear. If you want to know how to address racism in America and help address racial inequality, especially if you are a young white student in America looking to address racism, then you need to talk to Black and brown students and Black and brown colleagues and find out what their experiences are, because they are going to be significantly different than your experiences. As a public policy directive, we're looking to provide a blueprint for athletes on how to make their voices more powerful, more efficient in order to injustices in America. Take that to a more localized level and talk about experiences as athletes in this environment. And Andrew, as a member of a 25 person Division I baseball team in New Jersey, where we're drawing from all parts of the U.S., right? Your team's got to have equal representation from Florida and the South and the Northeast and California. That's just the way baseball works, right? It's a national game. What's the feeling of an athlete on the collegiate level when they're faced with so many challenges? You go to NJIT, you got to get your coursework done. You're playing baseball in the Northeast, which means you guys are freezing on the field, starting from game 1 to game 30, and maybe you get a spring break in Florida. But there's a world going on around that locker room, outside of the field. When we're looking at protest in sports, when the magnifying glass of society is on Black and brown athletes on the professional, collegiate, and high school levels, I had a hard enough time juggling life as an undergrad, and I went to a major university where I was a psychology major, which basically just meant I had to go to class on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a couple hours. It wasn't a trying experience. What's life like in your shoes?
Well, besides busy, the fact that you brought up of the team being made up from people from across the nation, that's correct. And I really honestly haven't thought about that much, but now that you say that, it's bringing up kind of like what life is like. And honestly, a lot of the cultures are very, very different. These guys are raised very, very differently. And on the field, we are complete brothers. We all fight for each other. So all differences aside, any political views, anything like that. That's the thing I love about sports is like when you're a tight knit group like that, any differences like that are just put aside because you have one common goal and you're all working towards it. And off the field, a lot of guys, since we're a team and a lot of this team chemistry is very important, we try to keep that as much as we can off the field too. And we're all brothers. We all love each other like brothers, but we do have some differences. And I think what happens a lot of the times, unfortunately, is that some of these issues, people have really strong opinions of them. And I feel like they're suppressed a lot just to keep peace. So you have some guys that have extremely strong opinions, feel strongly on one. Let's just say kneeling for the anthem. You'll have some guys that feel really strongly about this, and they'll be very vocal about it. Now, in order to keep peace, like someone could say that in the middle of the week, and we'll have a game on the weekend where we all need to rely on each other. If someone feels strongly the opposite direction, it's almost like you have to suppress your beliefs in order to keep the team chemistry alive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So it's really interesting because throughout it all, we're still like, I'd do anything for any of my teammates. Like I love all of them, but it's just like this thing where you have to, I don't want to say hide your real beliefs and opinions, but it kind of feels like that way sometimes, like the election too. It's just stuff like that where it's controversial things that could have the potential to drive wedges between people. But when you're on a team, you can't afford any of that.
Thank you to our student athlete panelists, Andrew Elcock, Sydney Watson, Jordana Codio, and Kadi Hessen for sharing their time and insight with our research cohort, as well as for their activism on and off the field. I'd also like to thank all those who made this podcast possible, our wonderful production team, the George Milton Group, Winnie the Moon for our theme song, and my Team Think Tank Project co-founder, Matthew DeSantis. And most importantly, I'd like to thank you, the listener. Hey, let us know you're listening. Subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and follow the podcast at problem_pod. For more information on today's topic, or to find out more about social justice programming for exceptional teams, please follow the Teen Think Tank Project at teen_think tank, or visit us at teenthinktankproject.com. Till next week, I'm Kelly Nagel.